Welcome to another PyPhysicsSandbox tutorial video. In this one I want to examine the effect if you start the simulation with overlapping shapes. So in this case I have a ball at 200, 200, and I have a second ball at 200, 200. So these are on exactly the same spot. One's colored blue, one's colored red. I'm going to set the gravity to 0 so that the only forces on these are the ones that the physics simulations puts because they're overlapping. So I run this, and you can see that it immediately pushes them to be non-overlapping. It doesn't actually impart a force, but it adjusts their positions until they're non-overlapping. In the case of objects that are on exactly the same spot, that will always be in a horizontal direction. So if I added another ball in here, and then run that again, it's always expanding along that horizontal direction. If I change one of these so it's a little bit offset, so now my blue ball was a little bit higher than the other two, so it got pushed up. The other two were still in exactly the same spot, so they got pushed horizontally. So you can use this to create some interesting effects, where you create shapes that are overlapping to start with in order to get this sort of expansion. So I'm going to copy in some static lines here, and I had to work a lot to get these points correctly. The effect that we're going for, though, is this, where we have a container, and we're going to put things into this container, and we're going to put a lot of things into that container so that they are overlapping, and then they will expand. So what I'm going to stick in there are going to be balls, and I'm going to stick them at the center of that container, plus or minus a little bit here, just in order to make certain that we don't get a purely horizontal distribution. We want it to expand in all directions, not just horizontally. And I'm going to set the color of these things to red because this is simulating a volcano, and lava is supposed to be red. Now I need to import random in order for that to work. So let me first run this just drawing everything. Oh, that is in the wrong spot. So this is what it is. Believe it or not, this is actually 50 balls drawn pretty much uniformly in about a 3x3 grid. And then when I allow physics to happen, those all get pushed aside and start coming up. And then you can increase the number here to get more of an explosion effect. So you can use overlapping shapes to get this sort of push out of a container effect. You just have to be careful, like I said, to not start them at exactly the same spot, because then your distribution is entirely horizontal. Instead, use some randomness to stick them into a small area, but still kind of uniformly distributed in that small area. So that is our volcano example.